It starts with something almost impossible to imagine, ordinary sand. But inside this factory, extreme heat transforms those tiny grains into something completely different. So how does sand become crystal clear glass? Let's go inside and follow the entire process, from raw sand to the finished sheet. Welcome inside a massive glass factory, where something as ordinary as sand begins an incredible industrial transformation. Every production cycle starts with carefully selected raw materials, delivered here in huge quantities from specialized suppliers. First, tons of high-purity silica sand are unloaded into the factory's enormous receiving system. From here, the sand travels through enclosed conveyors, moving steadily toward the preparation area. These towering silos temporarily store the raw material, keeping production supplied around the clock. But before the sand enters production, technicians carefully inspect its quality and consistency. Even tiny differences in particle size can affect the final glass, so every batch is analyzed precisely. Alongside the sand, other carefully controlled ingredients are stored separately throughout the facility. Automated conveyors then bring these materials together, preparing them for one of the most important stages. Before shipping, workers add protective materials around the glass to guard against damage. The silica sand is measured with remarkable accuracy before entering the main glass-making mixture. Other mineral ingredients are added in controlled amounts, each serving an important role in the finished glass. Every ingredient is weighed precisely because consistency is critical when producing thousands of identical glass sheets. Next, powerful industrial mixers combine the dry ingredients into one uniform glass-making batch. Inside the mixer, thousands of tiny particles tumble together until the mixture becomes completely consistent. Once mixed, the prepared batch moves continuously toward the heart of the factory, the enormous melting furnace. Large holding hoppers maintain a steady supply, ensuring the furnace receives material without interruption. The batch now travels along heavy-duty conveyors toward the furnace charging system. Up ahead, temperatures rise dramatically as the raw ingredients approach the massive glass melting chamber. Measured batches are automatically fed inside, beginning the transformation from solid minerals into glowing molten glass. This furnace operates under extreme heat, powerful enough to completely melt the carefully prepared ingredients. Through protected inspection ports, an intense orange glow reveals just how hot this process really is. Inside, the solid materials slowly disappear into a glowing liquid, forming the foundation of the final glass. As temperatures remain extremely high, the mixture becomes increasingly smooth and uniform. Meanwhile, operators monitor the furnace continuously from a sophisticated control room. Temperature and process conditions must remain tightly controlled because even small changes can affect glass quality. Technicians also inspect the molten material through protected viewing systems throughout the production cycle. But melting alone isn't enough. The molten glass must now be refined to remove unwanted imperfections. Tiny bubbles rise through the glowing liquid, gradually disappearing as the glass becomes cleaner and more uniform. Finally, the refined molten glass begins its journey toward the forming section of the production line. From the furnace, the glowing material enters a carefully controlled system designed to create perfectly flat glass. Before forming begins, the molten glass passes through a conditioning zone where its temperature is stabilized. Precise temperature control is essential here because the glass must have exactly the right flow characteristics. Then comes the remarkable part. The molten glass enters the enormous float bath. Here, the hot glass spreads across a bath of molten tin, creating an exceptionally smooth surface. Almost magically, the glowing liquid begins forming into one continuous, perfectly flat ribbon. As the ribbon spreads wider, specialized equipment controls its edges with incredible precision. These edge control systems help maintain the exact width required throughout the production process. Meanwhile, the glass surface continues leveling itself as it travels smoothly across the bath. Precision equipment also controls thickness, ensuring the finished sheets meet strict manufacturing specifications. Now we can see the result clearly, a continuous ribbon of glowing glass moving through the factory. From above, its impressive width becomes obvious as the entire ribbon travels steadily forward. Specialized rollers guide the glass while maintaining its precise shape and controlled movement. Up close, the surface appears almost perfectly smooth, with only subtle waves caused by the intense heat. The forming chamber is carefully controlled to protect the glass from contamination during this critical stage. Gradually, the glowing ribbon leaves the hottest section and begins its carefully controlled cooling process. Temperature decreases through several stages, allowing the glass to solidify without creating unwanted internal stress. You can actually see the transformation as the intense orange glow slowly fades into transparent glass. Next, the continuous ribbon enters a massive annealing system designed to stabilize the finished material. Inside this long tunnel, carefully controlled temperatures prepare the glass for everything that comes next. During annealing, the glass moves slowly through carefully controlled temperature zones. This gradual cooling process is essential because it helps relieve internal stresses trapped inside the material. Multiple cooling zones work together, bringing the glass steadily closer to room temperature. Precision sensors constantly monitor temperature throughout the entire annealing process. Once cooled, powerful inspection lights reveal the glass surface with incredible detail. Automated optical cameras now search for scratches, bubbles, distortions, and other tiny imperfections. These sensors can inspect the moving glass far faster and more consistently than human eyes alone. Human inspectors still play an important role, carefully checking samples for clarity and overall quality. By now, the once glowing material has become a cool, transparent sheet of finished flat glass. The continuous ribbon finally leaves the annealing section and heads toward precision cutting. Here, the enormous glass ribbon enters an automated cutting department designed for extreme precision. Before cutting begins, sensors measure the glass and calculate exactly where each panel should be separated. The glass is positioned on a huge automated cutting table, ready for its next transformation. A precision cutting wheel moves across the surface, creating an incredibly straight microscopic score. The cutting system follows programmed paths, producing perfectly controlled lines across the transparent sheet. Additional cuts divide the glass into the exact rectangular dimensions required by customers. Controlled pressure then separates the scored sections without damaging the surrounding glass. Individual panels now break away cleanly and move toward automated handling equipment. Before continuing, technicians carefully inspect the newly created edges for chips or imperfections. Powerful vacuum lifters then take over, moving each heavy glass panel with remarkable precision. Freshly cut glass has extremely sharp edges, so the next stage focuses on making them safe and precise. Automated grinding wheels carefully smooth the edges of every glass panel. Water continuously cools the grinding area while helping control dust and friction during processing. After grinding, polishing wheels create a much smoother and cleaner finished edge. Even the corners are processed carefully, ensuring the final panel meets exact specifications. Technicians then inspect the finished edges under bright lighting for even the smallest defect. Next, every panel enters an automated washing system to remove particles left behind during processing. Soft rotating brushes and controlled water jets clean both sides of the glass. Powerful air knives then sweep across the surface, removing remaining water and leaving the glass completely dry. The result is a remarkably clean, transparent panel ready for final quality inspection. Now the glass enters one of the most important stages, final quality control. Advanced cameras scan every panel, searching for defects too small to notice from a distance. Experienced inspectors also examine the glass carefully under specialized lighting conditions. Precision instruments measure thickness at multiple points to ensure uniformity across the entire panel. Laser-based systems verify the exact length and width of each finished sheet. Flatness is checked as well, because even tiny deviations can matter in demanding applications. Specialized equipment can also evaluate optical clarity and how light passes through the glass. The edges receive another close inspection, ensuring every panel is ready for safe handling. Panels that pass every test continue forward as finished, high-quality flat glass. Any panel requiring further attention is automatically separated, keeping the main production flow consistent. Now the finished panels are ready to leave the production line, but handling them requires extreme precision. Powerful vacuum cups grip the glass securely without damaging its perfectly smooth surface. Robotic handling systems carefully transfer each panel towards specialized storage racks. These angled racks are designed specifically to support large sheets while minimizing pressure on the glass. Each panel is lowered into position slowly and precisely, avoiding contact with neighboring sheets. Layer after layer, the rack gradually fills with finished glass panels. Protective separators are placed between panels to prevent scratching during storage and transportation. Once complete, the glass rack holds dozens of carefully aligned sheets ready for shipment. Each rack is identified and tracked so the finished glass can be sent to the correct destination. Inside the warehouse, thousands of finished panels wait in organized rows for their next journey. Before shipping, workers add protective materials around the glass to guard against damage. Special edge and corner protectors shield the most vulnerable areas of every panel. Workers then secure the entire rack with strong restraints designed for transportation. Another final inspection ensures everything is stable before the glass leaves the factory. Specialized forklifts carefully lift the completed racks and begin moving them toward the loading dock. Inside the warehouse, every movement is controlled because a single mistake could damage an entire load. At the shipping dock, specially equipped trailers wait to carry the finished glass to customers. Before loading begins, workers prepare the trailer with supports designed specifically for fragile glass. The heavy glass rack is then guided carefully into the transport trailer. Once inside, workers secure every rack so the panels remain stable throughout the journey. Inside the trailer, rows of finished glass stand securely protected and ready for delivery. A final safety inspection confirms that every load is properly secured before departure. Moments later, the truck leaves the factory carrying thousands of pounds of newly manufactured glass. From here, these panels begin their journey across America toward construction and manufacturing customers. At the distribution center, the finished glass arrives ready for its next stage of use. Specialized handling equipment carefully unloads the panels without touching their delicate surfaces. Inside the warehouse, finished sheets are stored safely until they are needed for their final applications. And after this enormous journey, what began as ordinary sand has become a perfectly clear sheet of glass. From tiny grains of silica to molten material, precision forming, cooling, cutting, and polishing, the transformation is extraordinary. Moments later, the truck leaves the factory carrying thousands of pounds of newly manufactured glass.